Hey guys, how are you? Today we're going to be working still into Module 1, but we're going to be on Lesson 13 today. Last night we did multiplying by decimals, and today we're going to do dividing. If we look at the objective, it's going to be to divide decimals by single-digit whole numbers and involving easily identifiable multiples using place value understanding and relate to a written method. Okay, we're going to look at our problem set for lesson 13. In your book, the problem set for lesson 13 is going to start on page 61, and we're going to do page 61, 62, and 63. Not too bad. Okay, first thing, we're going to complete the sentence with the correct number of units and then complete the equation. Okay, we have in letter A, 4 groups of something is 1 and 6/10. Well, think of the 4. We have the 4, and then think of this as 16. 4 times what is going to give me 16 would be a 4, and that's 4/10. Letter B, we're going to go down. 8 groups of something is 32 hundredths. So 8 times what would give me 32 would be 4. 7 groups of something, thousandths, is 84. You might not know this one, but you should. 7 times 12. Letter D, 5 groups of something tenths is 2.0 or 20. 5 times what's going to give me 20? That would be a 4. Okay, and now over here on the right side, we're just going to, it's kind of thinking the same thing as letter A. If I had 1 and 6/10 and I divided it by 4, I'm going to end up with 4/10. If I have 8 goes into 32 4 times, but it's hundredths, so we need 4 hundredths. 7 would go into 84 12 times, but since it's thousandths, we need to go over to thousandths. 5 goes into 20 4 times, but if we look at that, we have a tenths place, so we need to make that a tenths. Okay? Okay, number 2. Complete the number sentence, express the quotient in units, and then in standard form. Okay, so 4 and 2/10 divided by 7. 4 and 2/10 is going to be 42/10, which divided by 7, 7 goes into 42 6 times. So 6/10 is going to look like this. Okay, next one is a little bit harder. So we have a 2 in the ones place divided by 2 plus 64 hundredths. Now if we divide that by 2, 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 64 32 times, and if we want to equal that, we would get 1 and 32 hundredths. If you're confused by what I just did, here's my 2. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6 3, 2 goes into 4 twice. Okay? If we look at letter C, we're going to start with 12 ones divided by 2 plus 64 hundredths divided by 2. If I take 12 and I divide it by 2, I get 6 ones. And then the same thing, if I divide 64 by 2, I'm going to end up with 32 hundredths. And then if I put that together, 6 ones, 32 hundredths. Letter D. We got to look at this one. We aren't able to divide 6 into 4, so we've got to go to the tenths. 6 can go into 42 tenths. And then we're left with a 6 in the hundredths place, which is going to equal 6 goes into 42 tenths, so that's going to be 7 tenths, plus 6 goes into a hundredth one time, so that's going to be 1/100th. And if we put that together, here's our decimal point, 7 in the tenths, a 1 in the hundredths, and that would be our answer. And again, guys, the board is off a little, and I apologize. So we will fix it really quickly before we keep going. This would be a good time to stretch your arms. Okay, back on track. Next one. 6 cannot go into 4, so we've got to do 42 tenths. 6 cannot go into a 3, so we've got to combine that to 36, so that's going to be 36 thousandths. 6 goes into 42, 7 tenths. Plus 6 goes into 36 for 6 thousandths. Remember, we're dividing. And now we're going to solve it. We have a 7 in the tenths. We have nothing in the hundredths. And we have a 6 in the thousandths. Okay, number 3. Find the quotient, then use words, numbers, or pictures to describe any relationship between each pair. Biggest thing, guys, I want to see is if you can actually solve them. 8 divided by 32, 4. 8 divided by 3 and 2 tenths, it's going to be a 4, but since we go to the tenths place, we need to make it a tenths. Next one, 81 divided by 9 is 9. And in this one, we're going to the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. So 9 goes into 81 9 times, but it needs to be in the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. Okay, if we look at the ones below, are the quotients reasonable? 7 goes into 56. I agree it's 8 times, but it's not reasonable. The reason it is not reasonable is that 5 and 6 tenths. It should be 8 tenths, not 8 wholes. On the next one, 7 goes into 56 8 times. Not reasonable again. This one should be 8 as a reasonable. The last one, 7 goes into 56. 7 times 8 is 56, and it's in the hundredths, and it's in the hundredths. That is a reasonable estimate for that one. It's actually the exact answer. Number 5. 12 and 48 hundredths millimeters of medicine were separated into 4 doses. How many doses were made? Okay, so we have 12 and 48 millimeters, and we're going to divide that up into 4 milliliter pieces. And guys, look at that. I made that mistake. There's tomorrow. What mistake did I made? I said millimeters instead of milliliters. What? Okay, so we need to divide this. First thing we're going to do. So we have 12 ones divided by, and we're going to do 48 hundredths because I think you can do that. The 48 ends in the hundredths place. Okay, if we divide both of those by 4, 4 goes into 12, so we get 3 ones. Divided by 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 8 twice, gives me 12 hundredths. And if we put that together, we have 3 ones and 12 hundredths. Okay, number 6. The price of milk in 2013 was around $3.28 a gallon. This was 8 times as much as you would have paid for a gallon of milk in the 1950s. What was the cost for a gallon of milk during the 1950s? Okay. So in 2013, it was $3.28. That's 8 times as much. So you hear times here, but that means it was 8 times bigger than what it was in the 1950s. So we need to divide this by 8 in order to solve it. If we do that, 8 does not go into 3, but it goes into 32. So I can break that into 32 tenths plus we also have 8 hundredths. And we need to divide all of that by 8. If I take the 8 into 32 tenths, 8, 16, 24, 32 gives me 4 tenths plus 8 goes into a hundredth once, so we have 8 hundredths, which therefore means if we combine it back together, a 4 in the tenths, a 1 in the hundredths, means that milk was only 41 cents a gallon in 1950. I wish milk was still only 41 cents a gallon. It's killing me with how expensive it is. And we are done, guys. We got another one done. Remember, I made a mistake. What was it?